Christian, I wanted to start with you because, of course, I was reading that you saw a whole bunch of tapes for the role of Poe, but when you saw Harry's, you're like, that is our guy. So what was it about Harry's take that signaled to you he was your right actor for that role versus anyone else?
He nailed something, and he was getting something. I could see he was getting something out of this performance in an audition, which is the worst time to actually do anything interesting in acting. I've always been abysmal at auditions. I have no idea how I ever got cast in anything. But I watched it. He was hypnotizing. He just made me only see him as Poe afterwards, and Scott agreed. Yeah, he's bloody good.
To add to that a little, when you're also involved in the audition process of a film that you're working on, what can you be looking for in a potential co-star that signals to you that person won't just nail their role, but they'll also be a good collaborator for me to play with in terms of how you like to work with your scene partners?
Well, that's always a risk. You know, you never know that until you actually get it on the set and on its feet, you know. But that, you know, that's a risk with every film that you do, you know. And by the way, I'm not casting. Scott is generous enough to share these with me. Scott is casting. He
knows that your collaborations pay off, though. The more you two work together, the better.
Yeah, no, we do enjoy working together. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I you know, I want his advice on my acting, and he is generous enough to pretend to listen to my thoughts.
Oh, please. I don't believe that for a second. Harry, I'll throw a scene partner question your way for Christian now. Is there any particular scene in this movie that you found especially challenging, but because Christian gave you what you needed as a scene partner, you were able to reach something in your own character that you wouldn't have been able to without him?
Yeah, I think for me, first days are always quite tough because you just want to get off, you know, to a not a good start, but a solid start from where you can move forward. And so I will always remember that first day being in that very darkened room in Landor's cottage. And it was just a very gentle, they gave me the space in order to
wow,
find
was that your first
that
day?
Was my first day.
And you had a lot. It was a whole monologue.
A whole monologue, yeah.
And, nice one, man. You did a great job.
I just had time, and Christian's so generous in terms of giving you the space to really play and find things, and just as always present. So yeah, that would come to mind in terms of first days can be tricky.
And when I was off camera, I always drew the face on the tennis ball and left that there so I could go off for lunch, right?
Exactly, yeah. But we don't talk about that.
Yet again, another thing I don't believe for a second. Given how much Poe changes over the course of the film, I guess I don't really know how much this would apply to a film where I'm assuming you do not get to shoot in sequence very often, but is there any particular scene of his that like really put who he was as a person at that time into perspective for you, where no matter what decisions he made along the way, you could always refer back to that moment and know his decisions were being made in some sort of truth?
Yeah, good question. Well, I think maybe not a moment in a scene, but a thing that I kept coming back to was the idea that Landor offers him something that he needs, this anchor, this sense of place, this sense of belonging. And I also knew that I had to give Landor enough reasons to fall in love with Poe. Yes, you meet him, he could be this very foolish, very strange creature, but I had to give him enough reasons to sort of to want to invest in this person. And so those were things that I knew had to happen, and then from there sort of let things reveal themselves to me as opposed to necessarily reaching for them.
It's a beautiful pace to that reveal. I love it so much. Christian, I want to ask you a broader career question because you kind of did this earlier in this interview, and I feel like every single time I've spoken to you, you're so incredibly humble about your wildly incredible filmography. Is there any particular scene you've ever shot that now makes even you say like, damn, that was tough, I crushed it, and I'm so proud of it?
No, I don't think that. I do think how incredibly lucky I've been to be in some of the situations, work with some of the people. And, you know, just looking, there was a gentleman interviewing us earlier on and he had an Empire of the Sun DVD next to him. And just thinking about, my God, the things that I experienced on that were phenomenal, which, as you were referring to, as a child, you just get on with stuff. You don't look at it in comparison to other things at all. But just how fortunate I was, and I'm thinking in particular, these brilliant pilots who were actually flying right at my head on top of a building and then dipping the wing so we get even closer and just loving it. And I would go up in the planes with them afterwards. But being there, having that kind of an experience, having just the absolute expertise of people who have built this entire crazy set, which is unheard of. I don't think a set like that would be built anymore. And then being 13, doing that, and then I turned around, nobody left on the rooftop. They'd all run because they thought the plane was going to crash. And I was the only one left, but they left the camera running, and we got the scene. But these incredible moments that you get to have that I never would have expected having in my life. But anyway, that was the one that just jumped into my head as you started asking that question.
With that in mind, and with everything else you've experienced, is there anything in particular in Pale Blue Eye that even with all those experiences made you go on set like, damn, I never realized that, you know, either I would be capable or us as a team would be capable of making that happen one day?
Yeah, I never realized that you could keep warm by just rubbing lard all over your body. And I never realized that Harry would copy me in doing that. Yeah.
Who posed that idea?
Posed.
Posed.
I wish I could say I did that on purpose.
We all did it.
Yeah, all of us. Yeah.
I mean, I'm cold 24/7, so now there's going to be some awkward moments
Go
in my
rub
life
some
where I
lard.
choose to do that. And like, you guys wouldn't judge me, but everybody else on the planet will.